So much has changed in a week. I can't believe it. I mean, for one thing, the crabapple behind me is in bloom. I don't know if you could see that. Can you see that? It's just glorious. And so many tulips up on the hill as well as up front have burst into bloom. The hostas have probably changed the most. Check this out. So there's a variety of hostas. This is the group that I've planted closest to the pond. Gay boys enjoys hanging out with them, but they were barely to his ankles just a week ago, and now they're up to his shoulders. So they do love this spot. It gets a little bit of sun, but plenty of moisture, a variety of different kinds here of hosta, and I love the way the chartreuse really lights up this corner. So since if it was a variety pack that I purchased, the individuals weren't named, and here some of these other hostas have been moved around my garden as this area, the light changes because of the elderly maple behind it. It'll drop a limb and all of a sudden that area will get blinding light, so I change it. The hollyhocks that I've planted are coming up. Their rabbits are leaving them alone, so I like that. And I have a variety of different colors in here, different lilies, surprise lilies, tiger lilies, hollyhocks, and, oh yeah, a burdock. I got to dig that out. It's got a deep taproot. Aqualegia, different varieties here, which will be nice. The rose heritage is taken off. She's probably about 6 years old. The variegated sedge actually is perked up quite a bit thanks to mulch and moisture. So I do like that. Ingerson's hardy geranium, really gangbusters here. Now this, okay, you could see some hail damage on that one. As some of the hostas come up, especially the ones that are earlier to emerge, and those leaves are so tender and susceptible, and we've had some hailstorms here. Empress Wu, and she is the biggest hosta in my garden. Formidable, already bigger than my hand. These big spikes come up and then unfurl, and you do see some hail damage there, but not a lot. I also have some species tulips that I have planted in here, a variety pack, and I just love these cheerful little blooms, and these should come up every year. Same with the grape hyacinth, so they should expand. I have some different types of sedum in here, different hostas, daffodils coming up. And I'm finally getting a colony of Polygonatum odoratum variegatum, in other words, Solomon seal, the variegated Solomon seal. I love that, along with some variegated foliage here and some bright colored hostas. I need some things to add some color to this otherwise shady, kind of dark corner. So the more I can variegate and change up and diversify the foliage, the more interesting this area looks. There's a tiny little hostas coming up here now. But again, the mulching that we just got done this week, just some bark mulch, really helps improve retaining moisture here. And not to mention the variety of storms that are here. But these are going to be some pretty, that's a Venus hosta, one of the few tags that remains. But a whole big variety pack of hostas, different types, and all the tulips that I got from Des Moines Botanical Gardens. So it's always worth trying new things, seeing what comes up. You never know. There's an Annabelle hydrangea that has been transplanted that is coming up. Again, the more I can diversify the foliage, and look at this beauty little Thalia daffodil. And we know it is bleeding heart, Dicentra spectabilis. It was here when we moved in, so it's more than 20 years old, but it's a nice, healthy clump. Some years I get it to actually rebloom. Now here's some rabbit browsing. Here's an example. See how they just nipped off the tips of the hosta spikes as they were coming up? Ugh. My lilac bush in a pot is coming back, and I have Generous Gardener trained to kind of weave through that. We'll see how that goes. some formidable alliums coming up here. And here's some more hosta spikes, a little bit delayed. Now up on the hill, this gets more sun, so this warms up quicker, blooms quicker. The hyacinth, again, different things that I know rabbits will leave alone, which is nice. Now the one thing with mulch, I have to go back around and make sure it's pulled away from the root zone of emerging roses that I have planted here, because you want to feather the mulch away so it's not right up next to the crown, otherwise it'll rot. So this is Munstead wood up on the hill, which is coming back. They'll have beautiful deep red blooms, fragrant. These tulips have been here a couple of years. They've mostly kind of gone over by now. And I've got a peony that is coming up, which is lovely. And again, here's another example. These bearded iris, now that it's been mulched, you got to get in there and pull the mulch away from the rhizomes. If these rhizomes are covered, you'll get foliage but no blooms. So I have to go back in around the garden now that it's been mulched and pull the mulch away from the rhizomes. Otherwise, yeah, I'll have this foliage, but I won't get any blooms. And that happened last year. I didn't catch it in time, so this clump didn't bloom, which is a real shame. There's some beautiful blooms in here, but hopefully this will work. After that, my next job was to plant up the front pots. It's probably honestly still a little bit early. I usually wait till Mother's Day to do this, but I was at Lowe's and I found some really cute little perennials. So I thought, oh, let's get some color in there. I'm so tired of looking out the window at this large pots of empty mud. So this is the one that gets this side of the front porch, gets more sun. So I chose some plants here that need more sun. Now, first thing is just to take the top, 3 or 4 inches of spent topsoil out, add some fresh soil on top. And this was just, there in the store. So it's Miracle Grow. It helps with some soil fertility, especially for annuals. I don't mind using that. So there's a sweet little clematis that I put in here. And I will probably move her because, although clematis are pretty hardy, usually down to zone 4 at least, there's no guarantee here. So she'd be probably better served if she was in the landscape. So when fall comes, I'll move her. But there's some other things in here. Lobelia, I love that. Dicentra, love that too. And then the key is to wind the clematis back into the trellis, the container trellis. And I had to secure this with some wire and some other things. And then the final step is to add just a handful all the way around of some mulch. And then after the mulch and the watering, I also added some rocks because I do have problems with ground squirrels coming in there and digging and burying walnuts. Ugh. The other pot, this is the side that gets significantly more shade because it's shaded by that Chinese lilac here in front of it, a multi-stem. So I just take out the top couple inches of soil here. Got a lot of roots in there, and the fertility is probably spent from what I was growing in there last year. And then I add in new soil. And in here, I'm like, you remember I was looking for a place to put that hydrangea that I had pulled that just has never bloomed. It's been in that spot there on the north side of the house for a couple years. So I'm like, okay, well, let's put it in here. They can get bigger, but I was surprised at how little root zone it had. So I moved him a couple times. That's probably why. But he's got healthy foliage. I think he's going to be fine. And it'll be easier to keep this moist and to watch it. And again, we get a little more shade here. So I put some coral bells in there. They like the shade. Lobelia can tolerate either or. Part sun. This side of the container, as you can see from the sun there, gets more dappled sun. And some vinca, just garden variety there, general variety. And an anemone, I believe I put in there. So I found that one blooming. Now, this one is a African daisy on the side that gets the most sun. Hopefully that will be enough to sustain it. Not sure. And then fill in with the remaining soil, container mix soil, Miracle Grow. just to plant up those pockets and make sure they're getting some good root contact. I really hope that this hydrangea can put some growth on here, get tall enough to be interesting in this pot. And then adding some mulch. Mulch helps retain the moisture in this pot. I can put some rabbit repellent here, but rabbit repellent and critter repellent tends to stink. And when we have the window open, that's all you can smell is the repellent. So I'd rather smell the flowers. So that's why I put some rocks in there instead. So a good healthy water in both pots to settle the soil and add some moisture really helps. So in the end, I think, it's early days, but these will grow up and be kind of lush. I'll keep an eye on them. But as you can see, more dappled sun on this side. I'll keep you posted, see how these grow up. But I like the variety of colors here. Then I had a remaining pot with some sizable drainage holes there. So I have a broken pot that I put in the bottom so that the soil doesn't leak out of those holes and stain the steps there. Again, I didn't have much container mix left for that Miracle-Gro, but this is a bigger plant. So again, this isn't, it's supposed to be a perennial, a form of dicentra. I always think of them as chrysanthemums. That's what they look like. But anyway, they're fragrant and they're tall, and I'll put these in the landscape once this is done blooming in here. But I had to get together like 3 different bags of container mix to fill that. Then on to the next job, the cleanup in the rose garden. So again, I leave a lot of garden debris there, but when it comes to the roses, the fear is overwintering some bad bugs at this point. So I do rake away, because I noticed some ground squirrels had made a heyday in making some nests in here right up next to the house in this extra material. So I made a point of raking some of that up, taking a look at what's left. And I have to do that before I add some more mulch into this area. I've got some mulch coming for the rose garden. But there's quite a bit of yard debris, old leaves, old stems, dead foliage that was in here. And it had kind of piled up around there. So I thought if I clean it up, maybe that will help with some of the beneficial insects and remove maybe some of the other bad guys. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, speaking of bad characters, Lady in Red is now the Lady in Brown. I got tired of looking at her. This rose is dead. So I took her out, and I thought the same thing with the roots. Now, I don't know if chipmunks had tunneled under there, but either way, it's probably best to just take it out and start over. I do have some other roses ordered for this area. I hope you keep watching, subscribe, so we can see what I'm going to bother to put in here. I do really like this trellis, solid metal trellis. So I'm going to make sure and replace that with the rose. And then cleaning up the Russian sage, the old stems from last year. I try to wait to the last minute to do that, but when it starts to show growth on the bottom, it's time to give it some clear space. So it needs to be cut down a little bit here, and I actually did a significant cut here to keep it healthy. And I also cleaned up some dead area of this rose and then put up some rabbit fencing. That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me. I hope you subscribe so we can keep track of the progress for spring. The work is only beginning, so I hope you join me. See you next week.